Hi, I'm Date Matt. Nice to meet me. Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Guys and welcome to the month of love. I am Matt.
I'm Brian. Sorry.
And this is TV Guys, and Brian's thrown off by the month of love because for Brian, every month is the month of love. But it's February, and everyone knows that there's a couple important things about February. First of all, it has Groundhog Day in it, and I watch Groundhog Day every single year because it's like the best movie ever, right?
I've never actually seen it.
Are you? Whoa. Whoa. We just opened up a whole can. This is not a movie podcast, but excuse me, we need you to watch Groundhog Day. You have to. We can't even record anymore. You have to stop, go watch it, and then come back, and then we'll start over.
I know the premise. He lives the same day over and over again. Like, do I need to see it?
Yeah, I mean, the premise is a gimmick, fair, but it's done in such a good way. Like, there are so many other shows and movies that have mimicked that gimmick or used it, and some of them use it in a fine way, other use it in a good way, some of it is like sucks, but Groundhog Day did it in a really good way that it really developed Bill Murray's character, because he's a jerk at the beginning. It's like you're reliving the same day over and over, and you need to learn how to not be a jerk in order to, like, you know, enjoy your life, in order to get it, like, find joy in the things around you that you might not choose or like.
Yeah.
Plus, Bill Murray, this is like his best role. He's so funny. I know everyone loves Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters, and that's great, but this is his best role for sure.
All right. Plus, it's got Stephen Tobolowsky in it. I like him.
It does, and he plays Ned Ryerson. Bing!
I've seen that clip. I thought about letting that go because I knew you'd have that reaction to me not seeing that movie.
Well, I'm glad that you said something because, you know, this is a travesty. Okay, Brian, watch it. This week, that is your job. If you don't watch it by the time we record, then we aren't recording. Let me look it up because it's on streaming services. I'm sure. I need to figure out what streaming services.
I already have a lot to watch. I still haven't watched Cobra Kai. I know there's some more This Is Us to catch up on. I'm just trying to catch up on The Connors. There's too much good TV to catch up on now. It's starting up again.
It's on Hulu. Oh, but it needs a premium subscription. Dang it. It's not on anything that's like... It needs like your Stars premium subscription for all these other things that it's on.
I have a paid Hulu subscription.
I do too, but there's like another thing that it has with it where it's like, oh, it's an agreement with Showtime or Stars, or it's like, you know, it's like back in the day when we were growing up, it's like, yeah, you had cable, but then there'd be like HBO packages and Stars and Showtime, and now they've just moved it to Hulu. So, okay.
All right.
Well, that's important in February, but there's also Valentine's Day that everyone loves and no one ever feels strong-armed into celebrating. No one ever has felt that way.
No,
not once.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, can I take us off topic completely for a moment?
This is the best segue. I don't know where this is going, but I'm excited.
Okay, I texted my friend Mike about this, and he gave me his thoughts, but I have to tell you about this. Okay, how old is Howard Stark supposed to be?
This is really not anything to do with Valentine's Day.
No, but I had this thought. Okay, he's in Captain America, the First Avenger, in the 40s, and he's like, what, maybe on the low end, like maybe his 20s, right? Yeah. Which would make him born in like the 1920s.
Yeah, 1920. Okay.
Does that mean, okay, in Avengers Endgame, Tony Stark went back to 1970 and talked to his dad. Was his dad 50? Was his dad a super old first-time dad?
Probably. I mean, there's people that they have kids past 40.
I know, but
a long time ago, that wasn't so common.
But I don't know, like, John Slattery's the actor, right?
Yeah.
He didn't look like that old to be like that old of a guy in the 70s. And then when they show him older, he doesn't look like he looks old. He didn't look like in his 80s when he died. Like, I don't know. Like,
my favorite thing about Howard Stark is that in Iron Man 2, in his videos that he does, he's totally supposed to be Walt Disney. Like, that is 100% like drawing the gift from Walt Disney of these videos that he would do for the public, and like this beloved figure and all that, and then like the models behind him and everything, and those were like models of like cities, not like Tony Stark's models where it's like half naked women. Different type of model.
Pretty much.
So speaking of half naked women, on Valentine's Day.
I had a better one. I was like, instead of the dates of Howard Stark's birth, we have different dates to talk about.
That's fine. I mean, that actually makes sense. Mine has a weird shock, but it's not shocking. Maybe I'm a Puritan if saying half naked models is a shock value sort of thing. But back to Valentine's Day, back to dating. So we have seen so many amazing couples. And I think we last year talked about who are some of the best TV couples.
Yeah, we did that. Loved.
Yep. So this year we talked about what it does to set up that couple, and what they have to do is they go on dates. And so there's a lot of TV characters that have gone on dates. And so we wanted to talk about what are some of the best TV dates. Maybe whether, I don't know about you for your list. I don't know if these are dates that you want to emulate or if they're just like dates that really made sense with the characters or anything like that. But if you get an idea, take it and run with it. And you can bring it to your significant other and be like, hey, look what we're doing for this date. It's going to be great. Or maybe it'll be terrible. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Don't take our advice.
Yeah.
So let's hit with the top three. I'll go ahead and start because I feel like every week I always kick it to you. I'm like, Brian, you go. So this week I'll start.
All right.
And so what I picked for my number 3 actually has more to do with the story that's being told at the time in the season and the couple than even the romance of the date. But the romance of the date only makes sense with the context. So I picked from the show Chuck. There is a stakeout that they do. They do a stakeout in the first season together, Chuck and Sarah, and Chuck tries to like kind of be romantic in the first one. And he's like, they get like this sizzling shrimp and he puts on Private Eyes by Hall & Oates. And it's his kind of like that goofy nerdiness. And she's all like, no, we got to be serious. We're taking this serious. It's a serious stakeout, that sort of thing. There's where the conflict is. But I'm actually picking the one from season 3 when they're not even together. They're not even dating right now because there's something that happened at the beginning of season 3 that we find out a little bit more about it in this episode. But it is from the episode Chuck versus the Final Exam. And they're again on a stakeout. But Chuck now getting into like being more and more of a spy. And again, as it's the title suggests, this is his final exam to actually be a spy. And so he's very close to being on his own. But when Sarah comes in to check on him, he knew that she was going to be stopping by. So he had some of these same things ready. So he pulls out again the sizzling shrimp that they had from their first stakeout. And he pulls out that same song, the Hall & Oates Private Eye song that he has this stakeout mix. And Sarah is still mad. Like there's a reason they're together, and she's mad at something that he did early on and before this season even started. And you can see her softening. And that's why I love this date, is because this date is like Sarah is so concerned about him becoming a spy and like losing that part of him that she loves. And that's why she's not with him, is she doesn't want to start falling in love with someone who's going to lose themselves to the spy business and completely change. And so she's afraid of that. And so she shuts down her feelings because of that. But in this date, you can see her softening that back up. That it's like she still obviously cares for him and she still obviously loves him. And just when he's being his natural goofy self that she fell in love with, that like that's what a date is supposed to be. It's supposed to be you being yourself with this other person. And that's why I love it so much, even if they aren't together, even if their kiss gets interrupted by Shaw, even if there's all these problems, I still liked it for the story.
It's too bad I watched Chuck all in a blur about a year ago. And so it's like all these specific moments I've seen, but it just like I don't remember that specific moment.
Yeah. It's hard when you watch so much stuff like Groundhog Day that you haven't seen.
Yeah, I see. Like for the longest time, I have like shows like The Office or Community of Parks and Rec, like that I've seen so many times over and over again that those are like permanently etched in. Yep. Whereas like I don't have the time I used to. Like I don't have time to like sit and watch Chuck on repeat like I used to with those shows to get it etched in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like when we did our Stranger Things episode with Dan, I had to rewatch all Stranger Things. He's like, yeah, I remember I liked them, but there was so much I had forgotten, and there's 3 seasons worth of it that I'm like, oh wait, that's all happened. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, from your description, that is kind of cool. Like building on your own past, experience. I think is always a good move if you have that experience in past.
And spoiler alert, my number 2 is also one where it's like they redid a date they had previously. They did it a second time, so that's my number 2 coming up. But what's your number 3?
Okay, so my number 3. So you mentioned that people could try to emulate these dates. Okay, so here's how you emulate this date. Get on a plane, okay? The plane's going to crash on an island in the North Pacific, okay?
Oh, I know where this is going. I'll let you play it out.
You need to make friends with a girl just because she knows a little bit of French and can make a map. And eventually, there's going to be polar bears and monsters and stuff. And then eventually you're going to take this girl on a date about 3 months, about three blocks away, or 3 beaches away, and it's going to turn out to be randomly a very nice date that Sayid and Shannon had in Lost. But just beware, afterwards you're going to have to tell the date that her brother died, so that's going to be kind of a bummer.
Well, this is not a date. I'm going to tell you, this is not a date to emulate, because a character actually tried to emulate this date, and it ended up in his girlfriend getting shot and killed.
He wasn't his girlfriend yet, but yes, I get your point.
I thought you were going to maybe even go with that one. I'm like, this is a bad day all around. Like, the date itself fails, and then even in trying to get it to work, it's an excuse for her to be in the hatch to get shot. But no, the one you're talking about is better.
Because the date succeeded. It ended badly. I mean, I will know the date ended well, and then afterwards there was more tragedy. But yeah, I mean, it just shows the competency of, like, everything that Sayid did until about the last season when he went crazy was successful. Like, he's the guy, he's like the human lie detector. He's the guy you want to take down the enemies. And turns out he's quite the charmer as well.
And up until the last season, Sayid is probably the most emotionally mature character on Lost.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because even though, I mean, when Ana Lucia shot Shannon, I mean, sure, in the moment he's like, as most of us would be,
Yeah.
But it didn't take super long for him to actually be able to, like, calm down and realize that it was a mistake and have that one-on-one conversation with her.
Yeah, I mean, that was still in like the same hour that technically that had happened, or maybe it was a couple hours or something like that. But yeah, Ana Lucia is freaking out, and he's the one who's able to talk her down. He's able to talk down and empathize with the person who shot the woman he loved.
Mm-hmm. And one of the people who's probably the most unreasonable person on the island. I'd say I never liked Ana Lucia.
I feel like they just didn't give us enough, because she didn't have an arc. She started to, and then like, oh, well, we're killing her, so we need to wrap this arc up in like a flash. Yeah,
I feel like if you start a character that harsh, you need to give a couple seasons for them to slowly soften over time, but they didn't do that. Yeah. Anyways, so Sayid and Shannon's date was my number 3.
Yep, them on the beach. It's nice and it's cute. I can't remember. There was like a really good line he gave to, like, one of these, like, oh, that's a sweet line. And I don't remember what it was, but it was something that's like, good job, Sayid. You are a good person. Mm-hmm. Except for the last season. Just the asterisks of talking about Sayid. I mean,
that was That was when, like, he died. They drowned him in the magic pond, and he came back, but he was evil, but sort of not evil. It's a weird show.
It's the magic pond where John Lennon watched him drown.
There's not even he's barely kidding, by the way, listeners.
They 100% are like, we have to make this guy look like John Lennon, and I think his, like, character's name is John.
No, his character's name was Lennon.
Oh, it was one of those.
But no, it's even worse that it's Lennon, because how many Johns are out there?
John Locke, maybe. Anyone? All right. Yeah, that's a fine date. That's fine pick. So my number 2 is everyone's favorite couple. One of my favorite TV couples ever is, Brian?
Jim and Pam.
Jim and Pam. I knew it. You are so smart. So I am picking a date that is, again, this is the second one because they did two of this type of date. And the first one was cute. And the first one was when they weren't together as a couple. So what they did during an episode where Michael goes out with Jan to meet a client at Chili's, everyone else says, I can't remember the reason why they're staying late. I don't remember what led up to this, but I remember that this date, they go up on the rooftop, they do these grilled cheese sandwiches, and then they have like a fun time up there. They're watching Kevin and Dwight, I think, doing fireworks. So I don't remember what led up to that one, but I do remember for the other one that I'm going to talk about, my actual number 2 is when they repeated this date on the launch party in season 4. And so they all had to stay late because Ryan is hosting this Dunder Mifflin the Infinity launch party online, and they all order pizza. And so because they got an excess of pizza, then Jim decides to kind of do something real quick with Pam of getting plates and drinks, and he goes and he steals a pizza, and they both go up on the roof, and then they have a really awesome cute date together. It's not even that long of a scene, but it's a great scene because it just shows them being able to just really enjoy each other, and it gets those extra points because it goes back to that time that they were on the roof prior to that. But this one also has like that really great line where they're really connecting, and they're talking about like when they knew, and we kind of come in the middle of this conversation. They talk about when they knew that they liked the other person. And so Pam does I think it was when you came up to me and you said, now this might sound strange and there's no reason I should know this, but that mixed berry yogurt you're about to eat is expired. Like what a great weird anecdote. And like that was the moment. That was the moment she knew that she liked them. And so it's just a really cute date. I loved it. It's simple, it's not flashy, and and it again goes back to the history of those characters.
And I think that might have been part of the inspiration for Jake and Amy's rooftop date on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which happened later on too.
Probably. Again, Mike Schur, he reuses his beats. I mean, he reused a similar idea of like a makeshift date in Good Place with like the last season with Chidi and Eleanor, when they're like in the Good Place waiting to find out the fate of all humanity, and they can't actually go into the Good Place, and they're like, let's just do a date right here, and they kind of like do this makeshift picnic. Same sort of thing. It's like just make the most out of the situation you're in with the people that you're with.
Nice. Speaking of Mike Schur has a book coming out that actually sounds really interesting. Something about how to be perfect, or it's like he did so much research about morality for The Good Place, and he's like, why don't I take all this old research that's really hard to go through and make it easy to understand and make it interesting? So I guess that's what he's doing.
Well, he did that with The Good Place. He made that interesting, and that was really good writing for him to do that.
Yeah.
All right, your number 2.
My number 2 is a little bit unconventional.
So was crashing on an island and doing a beach date.
Because number 2 ended up being a whole date day with Ben and Jerry on Parks and Recreation.
This is a great pick. I would have never thought of this, and I'm so glad you did.
So Ben had this whole day. He was going to whisk Leslie away from her job and have this whole big romantic date. And he should have realized that getting Leslie to take a day off of work is just not going to happen.
Yep.
Because Leslie Knope, I don't know what she loves more, waffles, Ben, or work. But I don't
think about an equal 3-way tie. Although the number 1 above that is Ben's butt.
Ah, gotcha. Yes. I was going to say the Leslie Knope 3-way involves waffles, Ben, and work.
That really would. 100% would. Yeah. If she could do all 3 at the same time, she probably would.
Who knows? Who says they haven't? Anyways.
Fair.
I'm just going to stop this before it goes any farther.
It already did. Way too far. We're way past the line.
I forget what all the different things were. I didn't rewatch the episode. But so part of it was he was going to get her in a carriage. And Jerry comes out to tell him, something came up, but she's not going to be able to do it. And Ben's like, well, I'm going to lose this carriage ride. So I don't know, Jerry, you want to just go on a carriage ride, have a boys' day out? And like, yeah, so they go this carriage ride, and it ends up every other part of his date. Leslie can't make it, so he invites Jerry. So they do like a tango lesson together. What else did they do? They did like so many different things. They went out to eat together, and it looked like a fun time. It was just Ben and Jerry hanging out the whole day.
I remember the specific of going out, like eating. They got ice cream, and
Yeah.
what Jerry spilled it, and then the ice cream. The guy had like a backup ready to go. It's like, how did you do that? Oh, I always have a backup ready for Jerry.
Oh, that ice cream part, that was from the rotating bachelor party.
You're right. I remembered Ben was the one who asked about it, but I thought
I remember
good memory.
because the rotating bachelor party, that's from the episode 2 parties, which is my favorite episode of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, rotating bachelor party is a really good episode.
Yeah. But I just think I love the premise of like a couple having a nice romantic date, and in real life that's nice. But if it's on TV, unless it's like a big emotional moment or like the couple's finally getting together, you have to do something to make it interesting. Something's got to happen, which is why either something's got to happen badly or unexpected. And suddenly having Jerry go on a date with Ben, that no one expects that.
Yes, the caveat for our list today was top 3 dates, not the most romantic dates, but the top 3 dates. And this fits because it is such an off the wall idea. Mm-hmm. And sure, it's not technically a date in a romantic sense, but still it's a mandate,
And it's also perfect because like Ben is like the only one who I think could actually have a pleasant day with Jerry without resorting to being mean to Jerry. Like everybody else would resort to it. Chris wouldn't try to be mean to Jerry, but Chris would end up weirding Jerry out.
I like that he's the only one that like Jerry doesn't really want to be around.
Well, it's not that he doesn't. It's like I was thinking like when Chris is just being very too forthcoming about what he's doing with Jerry's daughter.
Yeah.
In that scene, I love that scene where Jerry's wearing a Mr. Potato Head costume and he sees Chris and his daughter making out, and he just like has this horrified look on his face, and April just comes and turns the Mr. Potato Head smile into a frown.
This isn't my number 1 here, but I just wanted to bring it up because it is a really good honorable mention that really has to go with what you're talking about. Because it's I don't know if it's a trope because I don't see it in a ton of stuff, but I have seen this replicated in a accidental date sort of thing, where like in Arrested Development, they had an episode that was great about this accidental date because Michael wins this like couples basket for this local spa. And so I think I'm trying to remember all the details of it because there's like 3 things that are going on, and there's 3 different couples there that day that are trying that basket out. And one of them is Lucille 2 with Charles Sitwell, and like they're trying to stop them. So I think like Michael crashes this while like Tobias is like trying out the basket or something like that and going through the whole thing. So it's like there's all these different moving parts, but I think it was like Tobias and Buster, or no, I'm sorry, Michael and Buster were on this date. But like going through like this edible chocolate that you can pour on your partner, like the couples massage, the time in the spa, all that sort of stuff. And so like all 3 of these couples are going through this date package, but only one of them is actually on a date.
Oh, that reminds me. Jerry and Ben also had a couples massage.
Yeah, I thought that seemed like a staple of this sort of a joke. It's a good one. Also that Arrested Development has like my favorite quote because Tobias talking about using that what was it? Yeah, so like he uses all of the coupons himself, and he goes to Michael's like, what was it? I blew my wad on what was supposed to be a dry run, so to speak, and so now I'm left with something of a mess on my hands. And Michael's like, there's so many poorly chosen words in that sentence.
As soon as you said Tobias quote, I'm like, that's got to be the one.
That's the one. It has to do with this, of him using up all of the couples stuff on his own.
Tobias is such a testament to David Cross's acting, because Tobias himself is so like kind of innocent and naive, which is completely opposite of how David Cross is in real life.
Correct. Yes. Well, let me talk real quick about an innocent and naive date that is just actually romantic and is a very sweet moment, and actually one of my favorite things about a character that I hate. And I actually could see this being your number one as well, and I hope it's not. But does it come from How I Met Your Mother, Brian? Because mine does.
Mine does too.
Oh, crud. It's the only redeemable Ted Mosby moment is when he wants to do a date for Stella, who can't date.
Oh,
And
this
so
isn't it. I have a different moment. You're
oh, good. So he is trying to woo her, and she's like, I don't even have like 2 minutes, or like I have like 5 minutes that I can have free. And so he plans like a 5 minute date for her. And so like she comes out of work, it's like it's just gonna take 5 minutes, and so it's like there's all this stuff in a row in this street alley where it's like he planned like this dinner, and they come sit at the table and they talk for like 30 seconds and then like have like a bite of salad. It's like, oh, now we've got to move on. They go and they sit in front of like a TV that's in the shop, and they're like, oh, now it's a movie time. So they sit there, they watch like 30 seconds of the movie, and they have popcorn, and like, oh, now it's, and then they get back in this cab, and then they go, I don't remember what the third thing is, but it's such a sweet, endearing moment. I'm like, Ted, this is what you need to be like. This is the person that you want to be. This is the person we want you to be. And you actually do a great job. It's impossible to not fall in love with someone doing that for you and catering a date to your busy schedule just to say, this is how important you are, that I want to get to know you better, even if it's only 5 minutes, and I will throw all this together. It's a grand romantic gesture that I'm like, this is his best moment for sure. And it's my favorite date that I can think of on TV.
That is a good date, and I will say it's a good look on Ted Mosby. It's hard for me to think of that as so great because it's with Sarah Chalke, who, as an actress, I think from what I can tell and I've seen in interviews, she seems like a cool person. But she tends to play characters I don't like because I don't like Stella and I don't really like Elliot from Scrubs.
I didn't like what Stella did to Ted, but I liked her up to that point.
I don't know. I was never on the Stella train.
That's fine. That's
But
fair.
but that was a good date, and that was Ted is really good at planning out these intricate moments. What he's not good at is not being pretentious and knowing when is too far too soon to go with these big romantic moments.
So that leads you into your number one.
Actually, it does, because my number one also involves Ted planning out an elaborate date. We didn't actually see it, but we heard about it in song. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to remember. Tell me, it's probably going to be one of those things that's like, oh yeah, I remember as you say it.
The super date.
Just keep going.
Okay, sorry.
I'll let you know when I catch
Okay.
when my brain catches up.
Barney is having this back and forth with this character who had written a book about how to take back control over women and not be played by a guy. And Barney's all about playing women, so obviously they're going to crash. She lets him know that she's not going to sleep with him until 17 dates in. And so Ted was telling him, like, no, like if you're gonna do 17 dates all wrapped into one, it needs to be one mega super date. And so he goes into this elaborate song, which goes into like this musical number where about the super date, where it's like and it shows, again, this is kind of going back to the joke of like Ben and Jerry. During the song, you see as if it was Ted and Barney on this date. They're on a carriage ride, and they're skating. And then they're ice skating at Rockefeller Center, and then they're doing a restaurant, and then they're at the opera, and then they see fireworks, and at the end, he's singing all this. He's like, "And that's your super date." And
how am I not remembering any of this?
You're not remembering
like,
this?
I thought this would ring a bell. I thought you'd say it and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting." It's completely lost on me. I can't. The only song I remember them doing was Barney singing about his suits. That's the only song that I remember them having on there.
Oh, by the way, they've done a lot of songs in this show. You probably are just not remembering the show very well. But
I don't rewatch How I Met Your Mother a lot.
Do you remember Marshall versus the Machines?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what's you are exposing me.
There's so many great musical moments on this show. Like they could make a whole playlist of musical moments on the show. What about when the time traveling Ted and Barney? There's like 4 Teds, 4 Barneys.
I do remember that one, but that's not written for the show. That's a Billy Joel song that they all record. So that to me, like I wouldn't count that, but I do remember that.
Anyways, back to this date. And it's just the whole idea of we never actually see this whole date going on. And because actually what ends up happening is while this is all going on, Barney and Robin have just recently broken up. And Robin is just starting to go out with or agreeing to go on a date with her co-star Don from Doing the News.
That's right.
At the end, when they all realize how mean they've been to Robin, another musical moment in this episode, Ted and first it's like Marshall, and then it's Marshall and Ted, and then it's Marshall, Ted, and Barney, all singing about all the girls Barney's banged. You remember that?
Yes.
The bang,
no,
bang, bangity bang, 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 bangity bang.
Never mind.
Yeah, that's that episode. And so to kind of make up for it, Barney's like, Robin, I'm not going on the super date. You are. And he sets up the super date for Robin and Don, and that's the switch of it.
Oh. Yeah, I'm looking it up down here, looking at it. It still doesn't. I see the pictures and I see the lyrics and everything that you explained, and I'm missing it. I don't remember much about the Don Robin storyline apart from like the Duck or Rabbit episode that they did. Yeah, I'm blanking on a lot. I don't know. Maybe I just had head trauma while we watched that season.
At some point, I want to do a full rewatch of that show because I think, like we've said before, we get soured by the ending, and so we kind of throw away everything. But it's like you can't throw away the whole everything because there's a lot of great stuff in there.
Yeah.
But anyways, like even though we didn't see it, the whole concept of the super date plus the song and the visual. It's just, I don't know, it's really cool. And it was the first thing I thought of when we said super date. And so I did go back and rewatch that episode.
Nice. Ted is good at the big romantic gestures, but it's just his personality, apart from that, is terrible. Sorry, everyone. Sorry for all the people who like Ted, which is one person that I know.
It's probably not just one person.
No, I think it's only one.
One person that we know of.
There's only one person in the world that likes him.
You don't think Josh Radnor likes Ted Mosby?
Nope. Well, ask him. I think Bob Saget likes him.
Bob Saget just died.
I know, exactly. So don't bring it up. How could you do that? Jeez, Brian. Gosh, lines, boundaries. Bob Saget's the type that he likes weird, gross, dark humor, immature stuff. So I think he'd laugh along if we made jokes, but we're not going to because that's not who we are. Well, that's not who we are in the podcast. Outside of it, maybe.
Don't
speak for me on this.
I hope people don't think we're putting on like fake personalities. No, we're just as nerdy in real life.
It's true. That's true. I was just kidding around. Anyway, did you have I'm sorry. Did you have another honorable mention?
No, but I do have another one of these things I'm going to do to you.
Oh, no.
Hey, Matt, what's the name of that show? Where the main, like the female lead's name is Amy, and she's a Hispanic woman, and she ends up kind of in a will they won't they relationship with the goofy guy she works with.
Are you talking about Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
No, I'm talking about Superstore.
Ha! Nailed it.
Yep.
Gosh, you set those up for me, and I set it up. Wait, who's setting it up? You're setting it up, and you're knocking it down yourself. You're doing all the work. I'm just here for the ride.
Yep, you're basically just there for me to make fun of.
Perfect. That's the role I fill with a lot of my friends.
Well, one of these times, you're gonna get both of them.
I will. I didn't know the other one. I never watched Superstore. I've gotten both of them before, but not always.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'll just give it to you. I feel bad for you.
I don't think so. I think we've always known there'd be one more. You're always like, I know it's not this. What is the other one?
Maybe. Well, we'll just agree to disagree then, sir. Well, hey, let us know what you think. What are some good TV dates? There are a lot of them out there, so there are plenty that we missed and didn't talk about, and we want to hear from you. As for trivia, last week we talked about Mjolnir. Woohoo! And spell that.
You mean
so
Jonathan?
Mjolnir is what?
You mean Jonathan?
I don't even understand the reference.
Oh, okay. I have to stop. This is one of my favorite references. It's just like whole like series of shots where they're asking a bunch of the Marvel cast, how do you pronounce Thor's hammer's name? And a bunch of them they're trying to say different versions of Mjolnir. They're all messing it up. And it gets to Paul Rudd. He said, Paul, what is Thor's hammer's name? He goes, Jonathan?
Paul Rudd is delightful. I will never have anything bad. I shouldn't say that, but I do not have anything bad to say against Paul Rudd. He can save anything that he's in. Mm-hmm. So we talked about Marvel Universe a little bit, but mainly we were deciding which TV characters that we know of that could lift Mjolnir. And so we had fun with that episode. Then we had a trivia at the end where we asked of which of the following for the multiple choice never lifted Mjolnir. And I think this is in order. So the order was A, Loki, B, Wolverine, C, Jane Foster, or D, Eddie Brock. So that was a question. And the answer is Wolverine never lifted Mjolnir.
I was gonna guess, and I wasn't gonna guess Wolverine. So
Eddie Brock is the misnomer. Eddie Brock's the one that like confused people. Like, how did Venom get to be able to lift Mjolnir? He's a bad guy. I don't understand.
Well, so is Loki.
Loki is too. Exactly. You know, like Natalie Jane Foster. Like, okay, she's a hero. We can understand that. But all the other ones.
See, I wouldn't have guessed Eddie Brock as the one that wouldn't, because he seems like the one that's too obvious of a choice on there.
It's always the one you medium suspect.
Mm-hmm. What is that from again?
Office, the murder mystery.
Oh, yes.
I love that quote. That's a great quote.
Mm-hmm. But it's true though. Like if there's a true or false answer, and like one of them is like clearly like a small child could guess it, but the rest of like the tests is not that easy. You know, it's going to be a trick question.
Yeah.
Although here's a tip for anybody up to college level stuff. Whenever there's multiple choice and one of the answers is D, all of the above, usually it's D, all of the above. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. It's a safe bet if you're guessing.
Yep. Statistically, also, if you're going to guess a letter, whenever you guess, just decide like what your letter is going to be ahead of time, unless you know that one for sure isn't it. Like you increase your chances when you say, anytime I don't know and I'm going to guess C. Every time. Yeah. So if you choose something like that ahead of time, unless you know for sure that that's not the answer, then guess that when you are out of gas and you don't know what the answer is.
My move, if I'm ever like I do a trivia or something and they ask a question with multiple choice, and I know there's no chance that I know the answer, like I don't know at all, I'm just gonna pick an answer at random, like and with confidence and act. Oh, it's for sure this, and act like I know it. You got a 1 in 4 shot. If you're right, you're going to look like super smart. Like, why do you know something super random like that? And like, it's just, I know stuff. And you're most likely going to get it wrong, but when you get it right.
That's the best response too. How do you know that I know stuff? I've learned things in my life. I know things.
Yeah.
I guess you do. All right. Speaking of knowing things, what is this week's trivia, Brown?
Brown?
Brown. That's your name, Brown.
You know, it's funny. My parents named me Brian and my sister Laura because they wanted names that didn't have obvious nicknames. Because
do people call you Bree? And
I've gotten Bry Guy, Bry Dog Jones. Like people call me a bunch of weird stuff. Because why would you name your kid one thing and call them another? I could call out a lot of specific people right now, including you, Matt.
What's that, B-Money?
Yeah. Because didn't you name one of your kids something and you didn't go and you call him something else?
I did. His name's Matthew Jack Rodenberg. We call him Jack.
Yeah.
That way, we named him after me. and we named him after C.S. Lewis, who CS stands for Clive Staples, and those names suck. And so he was like, name me Jack. And then in true Indiana Jones fashion, his dad's like, we named the dog Indiana. It was like their dog's name was Jack, but he's like, call me Jack. So people that are close to C.S. Lewis called him Jack. So we named him after C.S. Lewis and myself, named after two amazing people. Facts.
There you go. And there's also this couple that name their daughter Amelia and then call her Mia. You know who you are.
You know, you're out there. You know what you've done.
Anyways, I talked about the super date because Barney was trying to score with this author lady. So who is the celebrity guest who played the author who was going to make Barney wait 17 dates for sex?
Well, seeing as I don't remember the episode at all, I know that Don, I just now finally pieced together, because like Don was the character. I was like, I know I've seen him in other stuff, but he appears in Good Place in the final season as that. I can't remember what.
That's who he is. The Brent.
Brent, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, I've seen him before, and I know I've seen him in a number of other things. He's been in other stuff besides that, but this was like the role that I remember him from. I was like, where have I seen him before? And I just never cared enough to look it up. But now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's Don.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We did it. Connected the dots.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have got a great schedule for this month. Next week, we are going to actually talk about the best Super Bowl ads, because the Super Bowl is coming up pretty quick. And then after that, the Book of Boba Fett show is going to be ending shortly after that. So we're actually going to talk about the show, The Book of Boba Fett, on Disney Plus. And we're bringing in one of my favorite people in the world. His name is Jeff Tharp. He's host of actually a show on YouTube called Elijah Fire, and it's really awesome. You should check that show out. It's Elijah Fire, just one word, you'll be able to find it. And it's a Christian show, and it's awesome. But he's going to be with us for Book of Boba Fett, so I'm really excited to have him. So we've got an exciting month. February is going to be great, even though it's cold. Even if you live in a Midwestern state and you're like, February sucks because of all the snow, guess what? It's going to be great because you got us and we're great. And life is good, right?
Yeah, it'll also be great because for those of you who don't living in Minnesota, we're just now starting to get into positive numbers for the temperature outside.
That's true. It is positive because of our positive thinking.
Yes, that's why.
That's the exact reason. The only thing. Well, until next time, keep your positive thinking on. I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching.